Hi, I'm Father Joe Marcoux. I'm the pastor of St. Catherine of Siena Parish in Ithaca, New York, and welcome to Ithaca. In my tradition, I'm an Italian-American, Sicilian actually, so not really Italian. Don't tell my mother. But we would have 7 fishes on Christmas Eve. Today what I'm going to do is going to make a lobster bisque, which is one of the things that we every once in a while splurged on and had for one of the courses for the 7 fishes. The ingredients for the lobster bisque. We will need 2 lobsters for today. They're right here. Some celery, onion, carrot, about equal parts of each. We'll need cream and half and half, and flour and oil for a roux, tomato paste for the roux, and paprika. And I usually get lobster bisque, although I'm using crab bisque today, but I use a particular brand. I find it to be one of the best brands on the market, Miner's base. This one's the crab base, but you can get lobster base as well. You can get that right online. So we've parboiled our lobsters, and we don't want to cook them all the way through because they're going to continue to cook in the soup. So we take them out of the boiling water, put them right into a nice ice bath to cool them down and stop the cooking process. Now, while they're cooling, we're going to begin the base of the soup, the roux. This is what's going to be the thickening agent, what's going to be thickening up the soup. And what we will need for that is some vegetable oil, some flour, the celery, the carrots, the onion, the tomato paste, and paprika. We're going to put about 2 cups of oil in, which seems like an awful lot of oil, but I'm making a substantial amount of bisque today. We're going to let that heat up a little bit, and then we're going to cook our mise en place, our celery, our onions, our carrots. We're going to cook them up a little bit to get the flavor out. This soup, the bisque, is all about extracting as much flavor out of the foods that we're going to use as possible. So we're going to try and get all the flavor out. So we're going to cook them a little bit so we can get the celery and the onion, the carrot, all that flavor out of the product. We're adding the celery, the onions. They can be chopped very coarsely, so you don't have to worry about it. I don't even chop up the carrots. So I'm going to put about a tablespoon of black peppercorns in there. A little more. I like black pepper. Gives it a little kick, you know what I'm saying? All right, good. So while those are cooking and the lobsters are now cooled, we can go to our second process with them. What we need to do, this gets a little bit tricky and you just kind of get used to it, is we're going to take out the meat, the lobster meat, because we're going to reserve that for the soup in the end. And the shells we're going to put on this tray, because what we're going to do with the shells is we're going to bake them. Again, we're trying to extract all the flavor that we can out of the products that we're using. And the best way to get the flavor out of seafood shells is to bake them. Now, this gets a little bit messy and a little bit noisy, but we're going to deshell the rest of these lobsters, the claws, and the easiest way to do that is use a hammer, a cooking hammer, and a kitchen towel, because they're a little juicy in there, and they'll splatter all over the place. Shell. Right. So, just kind of breaking up the shells a little, and then the meat comes right on out. Very easy. I already have the oven set for 350 degrees. And it doesn't take that long to roast the shells. So while we're doing our finishing the rest of the soup, the shells will be baking. Now we're going to put the shells right in the oven. We're going to let them bake. We can actually time that about 20 minutes. You got your vegetables. They've been cooking here. They look great. They're starting to open up. You can smell them. That's a good time or good indication that it's time to bake the roux. The roux can be a little tricky and a little bit intimidating sometimes for people. Roux is just a French word for a thickening agent, really. So a base. And so the roux can be intimidating because if you don't do it right, it can mess up the entire soup. You have to start all over again. But don't be afraid. It's not as hard as you think it is. So I did about 2 cups of oil, and you're going to use probably about 3 cups of flour. But what you really want to do is look for the consistency. You want it to look like wet sand. Okay, so we're going to add our flour. About 3 cups right there. That's perfect. You can see it. Because if it burns, it's going to be a problem. All right. Now I've got my heat on high. You could turn it down a little bit. You're going to want a little bit thicker of a base. So I'm going to add a little bit more flour. Careful. So maybe about 4 cups all together. Okay. There's a little bit more, but it'll be okay. All right. That is excellent. Okay, can you really see that now? Now, this particular roux right now, it's going to smell like your vegetables. You want it to kind of cook a little bit, so you start smelling a little bit of a nuttiness to the roux, and then we're going to add the tomato paste. And all of a sudden, you're going to have the roux look really nice and pink. So when we're finished with this, we're going to cook this down a little because we want to get that tomato to cook a little bit. And voila, there you have it. You're going to see this beautiful, beautiful kind of orangey, reddish orange roux that's cooking. We're going to add some paprika. Now I particularly like paprika, so I put quite a bit in. This is going to give the bisque a nice red flavor and a wonderful little flavor. I use just regular Hungarian paprika, no smoked paprika or anything, but you could if you wanted to get a little crazy. Now, your roux is ready. So what we're going to do is we take the lobster liquor that we use to cook the lobsters in and add it to the roux. And it's going to, because it's nice and hot, it's going to thicken up right away. And that's beautiful. Very easy, very simple. That was about 1 gallon of water of lobster liquor. You're going to need about 1 gallon more. You can see the soup is thickening right away. I happen to have a little bit more water right here. Okay, so I have about 2 gallons of water. This is a lot of soup. You can cut this whole thing in half, and it's wonderful. It'll be perfect for a family of about 5 or 6, All right, at this point, we're going to add the base, the lobster base. But like I said, I'm using crab base today for this batch. I'm going to add it in. There it is, nice. And for about 2 gallons, you're going to use this whole thing of base. Put a little water in here. Put the lid back on. Shake it over the pot in case it starts spilling. This is pretty expensive stuff, so you don't want to waste any, so you're trying to get all of it out of here, okay? Okay, and there you go. Empty, see? We've done good. We're going to let the bisque cook now on low to medium heat until it gets to a simmer, and then we're going to bring it way down. And we're going to let it cook for about 3 hours. We really want to extract all the flavors that we can out of it. In the meantime, of course, those lobsters are in the oven. What we're going to do is we're going to take them out of the oven and put them in the bisque to kind of smash them up as much as we can so that we can get the flavor out of the shells as well. We want all the flavor, so we're doing everything we can. So then we'll let it cook for about 3 hours, and then we'll strain it, and then we'll go from there. So we're going to check our lobsters up, and they are perfect. It's about 15 to a little bit, about 15 minutes. They're nice and toasty. Oh, and they smell great. I wish you could smell through this, but you can't. So I'm going to take the lobsters and add them to our bisque. I'm putting them right in here, right in the bisque, all in the soup. Now what you really want to do, I have a little bigger one of these in my other kitchen, but we really want to kind of mash the shells as best we can and try and squish out all the flavor from them. And so while the soup is cooking, the bisque is cooking, you're going to, every once in a while, come over here and mash this up. Yeah, and they're breaking up in there, and that's good. And then we're going to get that flavor out by then. Okay. All right, let's let that cook. So we're back 3 hours later, and I look so much more refreshed, don't I? That's how you know it's been 3 hours. So we're going to strain off our bisque. It's all done cooking now. We're going to strain it into another pot, and we're going to then add our cream and a little bit of sherry just to make it really, really good. So you might want someone to help you here, but it's really not that hard. Do it nice and slow. It's going to splatter a little bit, but don't worry. Take your time. So I just take the colander that I have, and I'm going to just kind of stir the soup to make it, help it move through the sieve. We reserved the roe and the tamale. And what we're going to do, because of course, again, out of all the ingredients, we want to get all the flavor that we can. And so we're going to try and get some more flavor out of the lobsters through this. So we don't just add the tamale to the roe because it'll break and it'll ruin the soup. So what you want to do is temper it and then add to it. So you take maybe a ladle full of the bisque, add it to the tamale, and whisk that up. But then we're going to add that, because now it's tempered, right into the soup. And you see the nice little beautiful red dots in there? Yeah, that's our lobster roe. This is about maybe 6 cups of soup. So we're going to add like a cup of cream and a cup of half and half. Just to change the color and the texture of and the creaminess of the soup. Look at what's going on with the soup. You can see it turning this nice, beautiful pink color, orangey pink. There it is. That is beautiful. And it's perfect. Yep, let me see, taste. Oh, that's really good. We're almost ready to serve. We pulled our lobster meat out of our refrigerator. We're going to chop it up a little bit, right? Put it right in our bowl, right, where we're going to serve. That's nice. That's really lovely. The soup is nice and hot, so that's going to bring that lobster right up to temperature. Don't worry about that at all. And one nice little ladle, maybe a little bit more, because, boy, that looks so good. And so just a little bit of sherry on your lobster bisque. And whoop, and voila, you are ready to serve. Bon appetit. One of the reasons why it's such a great thing to serve is because you can take a little bit of lobster, which is kind of expensive for most folks, and you can stretch it a long, long way. It's really the poor man's lobster dish, because you can make a lot of bisque out of a very little bit of lobster. So I hope you enjoy. I hope you make it. It's really, really easy, not as hard as you think. Enjoy, and happy Christmas to you all.